Yo, what's up, guys? Pavy Daily Takes. Um, I know I haven't done it in like a couple of days. Kind of been everywhere. WNBA playoffs actually start today, so make sure you guys tune in. I think the first game is Chicago at Phoenix. Well, no, Phoenix at Chicago, and then the second game is I think Minnesota at Seattle. The Sparks would play the winner of, well, they would play the lowest seed. So if Phoenix beats Chicago, they would play Phoenix. If Chicago just beats Phoenix, they would play the winner of the Seattle Lynx game. But well, again, so yeah, make sure you guys check that out. Single game elimination. Um, should be fun. Should be dope. Make sure you guys check that out. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Team USA. And Team US. I woke up. I didn't even know they played last night. But I woke up, saw that they lost to France. I haven't seen the full game yet. I gotta go, later on, probably today, and probably go watch the full game after the WNBA playoffs. And sit back and really sit down and dissect the full game. So I haven't seen the full game, but I just think in general we've since, but not me, but in general America and the internet and everybody has been a little bit too hard on Team USA. Uh, I think that for one, people don't really realize how different the international game is from the NBA. Um, Really, for the most part, not for the most part, the NBA is the only place in the world that plays basketball like the NBA. On no level anywhere else in the world do they play basketball the way they play in the NBA. The WNBA doesn't play like the NBA. International FIBA is not like the NBA. College isn't like the NBA. High school isn't like the NBA. The only place that you play basketball like the NBA is actually in the NBA, which is why some players don't translate, which is why you have players who can't play in college. Then they play in the NBA and they're better. Like Zach Levine wasn't the best college player. He's a good NBA player. Like who else? Then you have guys like Jimmer Fredette, good college player, not a good NBA player. Then also you have guys who maybe didn't work out in the NBA, but they go overseas. Anthony Randolph is a guy that he plays in the Russian league, if I'm not mistaken. He goes over there, has a very long and very very successful career. The game is just different. I think that in the NBA, I think that a lot of the NBA is predicated off one-on-one and like isolation type play. In Europe, the court isn't even big enough for you to do that. Also, I think that teams move the ball, teams back cut, teams do that a little bit more again because isolation play isn't as defined. Like you can even look at some of these FIBA games when you can make them pass the ball and like stop their first two options. A lot of teams struggle to score because they just don't have the isolation creators. Most of the teams that have the isolation creators or those isolation creator type guys have been in the NBA. Like I remember I was watching when we played Brazil. If it got late in the shot clock and they needed a bucket, they would throw the ball to Barbosa because Barbosa is the guy. If you need, to manufacture a bucket or like a shot created, he's that guy for them. Or they would throw the ball to Verajai. Like if you need to throw the ball to Verajai on the block and manufacture a bucket, he's that guy for you. Those are more that's more the NBA style. Like being able to creativity, individual creativity more than running the offense, running sets, and getting good shots. Not granted, obviously, like that all helps, but also what you think about with the NBA is that they usually play a series. This is one game. Like I don't think that France had a more talented team than America. I think that on this night they got caught. Like who knows? Like I haven't seen the game yet. They might have fell behind early and been playing from behind the whole way. Maybe your shot wasn't working. I know they scored like maybe 1 point in the last 6 minutes of the game. Maybe you fell into a cold streak, things like that. In a single game setting, talent doesn't always win out. It's just who was better on that day. As opposed to the NBA, you think in the playoffs, there's usually you got 4 different chances to win. Like there's no single game elimination. You got 4 chances. So you're not even, the first game is kind of like a fill out game, and then you kind of get into the series, and then eventually usually the talent will win out. But in a single game elimination, type setting, that isn't the case. Also, you got to think all of these other foreign teams have been around for a while. Like they've played together. This USA team is basically thrown together last minute, and it's like, all right, go out there and go win. And these guys again have, for the most part, outside of playing in that, FIBA under 18, whatever it's called, that they've probably played in a maximum of 10 times, they're not really used to playing international basketball. You're talking about like team like Greece, team like Brazil, team like Serbia, team like even like France. Everywhere outside of America, like FIBA and team and like World Cup play, that's your NBA championship. You're not in the NBA, so you prepare for that. So these teams have been preparing for that for 3, 4, sometimes 10 years. They like I remember the Argentinian team when they had Manu and they had Nocioni and they had, I think Luis Scola was on that team as well. Like that team was together for a full decade. Like that's like their NBA championship. Even for some of the guys who play in the NBA, winning for the country is more important than winning in the NBA for some of those guys. So I just think that we've all been a little bit too hard on Team USA. I think that for one, for the Celtics, because obviously half of the team is full of Celtics, I think it was a great experience for them. I think that they get a head start on a lot of teams. I think that because of FIBA play, they'll come in and I think they'll kind of hit the ground running within the first month of the season because they've actually played competitive basketball against other people. So you can kind of like simulate some things that you would see during the season because you actually play competitive basketball against other people, not against like the second team, not against the practice squad. Like we've played competitive basketball against people who want to beat us and do not give a damn about us, and I think that helps. So again, man, I think that we were all a little bit too hard on Team USA. I know some people say Kemba choked. Again, it's a one bad game, bro. We all have bad games. You played a bad game. It's a single game elimination setting. Sometimes your jump shot ain't working. Now, again, granted, I got to go back and watch the game. I got to see, did he look engaged? Things like that, or did he just miss shots? Again, I never criticize players for missing shots. Like, you can't shoot well every night. Michael Jordan even missed shots. Like, you physically are not going to shoot the ball well every night. But there are other things on the basketball court you can do to affect the game, even if you aren't making shots. So I would have to go back and look at the game and see, was he engaged? Did he play defense? Did he try to throw his body in there, take charges? Did he try to make the right pass? Things like that. But again, it's one bad game. I don't think that it's like an indictment on USA basketball. Like I think that people just assume we were gonna go in there and run over the world because we're America, and not really realizing that it doesn't happen like that. I think even when they had the title game in 2008, I think it was when we played Spain. We didn't destroy Spain, and that was a redeemed team. You had Kobe, LeBron, D. Wade. Like, we didn't beat them. Like, that 4-point play that Kobe had over, like, Rudy Fernandez was a pivotal point in the game because it was a close game. Like, the world is really good, especially when you play on their terms. Like, don't think that because some guys aren't in the NBA, they can't play basketball. A lot of these people have been drafted. Maybe they just didn't come over. Or the teams still hold their draft rights. Like, these are still really, really good basketball players. You just have never heard of them because they aren't in the NBA and they're playing under their rules. Like, if you take FIBA and put it in America and play by NBA rules, you probably drag everybody because they aren't the athletes that we are. Again, we probably have better shot creators. We probably drag pretty much everybody and nobody beats us because we're playing under our rules. But when you take it over in FIBA and you play under the FIBA rules, even something like traveling is different. Like, you actually can only take 2 steps in FIBA. That whole gather step shit does not exist in FIBA. Even knocking the ball off the rim, even the way people do intentional fouls to stop a fast break, you actually have to go after the ball. If you don't go after the ball, I think it's 2 shots and then the ball. So it's certain things that are just fundamentally different that it takes time to get used to. And I think that everybody is just way, way too hard on Team USA because we just expect. I think the Dream Team set a certain precedent that we are just miles and miles ahead of everybody in basketball. And at that point in time, we were. But since then, the world catches up. Again, the world catches up. In 2008, the championship game against Spain, we didn't blow out Spain. It was a very, very close game. And you look at the roster and you think, oh, well, because you look at guys' NBA status, so you like, oh, they got Kobe, they got LeBron, they got D. Wade, they got Melo, they got Dwight Howard, they got all these guys. We should win by 40 against, I think at that point in time, it was Marc Gasol, Pau Gasol, I think Ricky Rubio was on there, Rudy Fernandez. Like, if you just look at the names, you're like, oh, yeah, that's a good team. But Bron James, Kobe Bryant, I could really stop right there because that's 2 of the arguably top 10 greatest players ever to play the game on one team. You would think that because we have the most talent, we should just run through that game. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You're not just gonna go over there and just beat teams by 40 every game. It's not 1992. It's not 1996. It's not 2000. It's 20. It's almost 30 years after that. These teams are really good. Like, these, and again, these guys have been playing basketball with that team for years, and we've been playing with this team for a couple weeks, since August. You talking about teams who have been together for years. Like, they know each other on that stage because they've been practicing and preparing for this moment for years. You talking about a team that was thrown together in August of guys who never played before, besides the Celtics. And even they ain't played with each other before, really, because Kemba wasn't there. So, again, I think we were all just way, way too hard on Team USA. I'm still proud of the job that they did. And more for me, I'm just happy that these guys all got that experience. And I think it'll help all of them a lot this season. I think it'll help Donovan. I think it'll help Kemba. With Donovan, I think it's probably the first time that he's been in a situation where he can't shoot, at least in the NBA, where he can't shoot whatever shot he wants to shoot. I think his role in Utah is to be shoot first, shoot second, and pass third. And I think that he was put in a situation here where you have to play the game the right way. And I think that with the offensive firepower Utah added, the FIBA play and playing with Team USA is really going to help him ease his transition this season. Kemba, I think for Kemba, it's probably the first time that he's been like the star on a big stage. I think that for most of the tournament, he's arguably been the second best player in FIBA. I think that Jokic has been number one. Granted, Jokic isn't starting, but he's putting up, 13 points, shooting like 80% from the field and 80% from three off the bench. So basically, he's missing like one shot a game. Crazy numbers. I think he's been the best. Obviously, Bogdan's up there. Giannis has been good. But Kemba's been one of the best players in the world throughout the FIBA tournament. And I think that this can really, springboard him throughout the season. I think that Jason Tatum, for the time he was there, I think that he kind of found a new position. I hope that Brad Stevens watched some of FIBA and tries to replicate some of the ways that they use Tatum in FIBA, as far as like putting him at the 4 and using him at the 4 slot, replicating that and using that during the season. So I'm just happy that these guys all got that level of experience. So again, I think this will help all of them this coming season. It's the first time they played internationally, and again, basketball is basketball, and there are things you can take from the international game that will help you in the NBA. Again, making the right play, moving the ball. Some of the some of the core fundamental values of basketball that don't always get highlighted in the NBA. I think they get more highlighted in FIBA, and it forces you to play correct basketball. Like even the WNBA. I think that the WNBA and FIBA kind of has a lot of similarities. I think that the WNBA, the core fundamentals of basketball get highlighted a little bit more. Same with FIBA. I think the core fundamentals of basketball get highlighted a little bit more. So I'm happy that all these guys got that experience. And again, I think that this will help all of them out this coming NBA season. So, we'll see how it goes. The tournament isn't over. I think they have to play. I think there's 2 more games left that they have to play. So we'll see how they fare in those 2 games. I'll be interested to see how they fare in those 2 games. And yeah, it's been Pavy Daily Takes, and make sure you guys check out the WNBA playoffs. Again, they start at in an hour. So yeah, man, make sure you guys check that out. Pavy Daily Takes.